What's up, Mob Crew? I'm Chris, and today's missing person case is Don. Also, today's person of interest is Olivia. Today's missing person case is Corey.
What's going on there, man? We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please, Frank.
What's up, everybody? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. We cover murder, mystery to the paranormal, and we've got a special show for you tonight. And we also have a special guest, Steve from True Crime Web, who I'll introduce here in a moment. Thank you so much, Rebels of Reddit, for that generous donation. Let me get that up there real quick. Said, let's start the show out right and thank these guys for the hard work they put into tonight's show. True crime content presented professionally by experts. Thank you so much, Rebels of Reddit. That means so much to me and Steve. That's so awesome. And thank you to everybody that's here. Let me get caught up here. So if you're new to the channel, before we get started, we always like to feature the missing. So go ahead, and for today, we have a couple of people here. Tonight's we have Gabriella Marie Venal. She is just 19 years old. Just went missing a few weeks ago in January. She's 5'7", thin build, hazel eyes, reddish brown hair. She went missing in the Toronto area of Canada. Some special notes. It says she kind of lives a transient lifestyle, but could be in the Niagara or Greater Toronto area. She is also known to change her appearance. If you have any information, please call Windsor Police Major Crimes Unit at 519-255-6700. And we've got one more here. Oh, and here's just a better couple of pictures of her here. I'm going to make that bigger. And we've got one more. And second one, we've got Carrie Rain Bard, who went missing on the 22nd of January, a couple weeks ago. She is 26. It says she may frequent homeless encampments. She went missing out of Tucson, Arizona. Family is searching for info regarding her whereabouts. It is uncharacteristic for her not to be in contact with her family. She does have a mermaid tattoo on her right arm and something on her inside of her elbow on the opposite arm. So that is Carrie, 26 years old, 5'7", 100 pounds. So if you have any information, please call 520-791-4444. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-host for today and who has been working really hard the past week. Hey, Steve, how you doing, buddy?
Doing fine, sir. Thank you for having me.
It's an honor to have you in here. For those that might be new to you and your channel, you want to give a little background about you?
Sure. I'm Steve. I'm a retired law enforcement officer, had 20 years of service. Started off my career working in the jail, went on the road and then into investigations. And during my career, I had all different types of training from SWAT to becoming a state certified crime scene technician, which helped my investigative career. And I've handled all different types of cases from thefts, burglaries up to homicides. And then I retired and started my channel and have moved into working cold cases and things. And I enjoy trying to work with the true crime world and getting us where everybody has an understanding of how law enforcement thinks and operates.
That's awesome. And you've been doing some experiments, which we'll show you guys here in a little bit, but we'll do a little bit of backstory just in case, just to get everybody kind of caught up to speed. Just get caught up in the comments. And thank you to all the mods that are here today helping us with the channel. If it gets kind of busy, let me know and I'll slow it down. And so we'll go ahead and get started here. So let's see, where should we start at? Let's just give a little background about our three characters here. So we got Alex here, Alex Murdaugh, who is on trial right now for allegedly shooting his son and his wife. Before, he was a lawyer, and his father, they'd kind of been passed down. It was a big law firm. They're well known in South Carolina. But then everything just kind of came to a halt on June 7th. I guess the walls were kind of closing in on Alex. He was unfortunately taking money from his firm. There were some lawsuits with his son, and it just wasn't looking good for Alex. And so, according to the prosecution, they feel like he may have snapped or whatever and shot his son and wife. And so we have Alex here, his wife Maggie, and his son Paul, who was shot. They do have his surviving son Buster, who has been in the courtroom and may testify at some point. But so on June 7th, just the basic rundown is Alex said after they were doing some things out on the yard and stuff, he I don't know if it was him and the family, but he had dinner, and then after dinner he went and took a nap, and I think it's between 8 and 9 approximately that he took a nap. His phone ironically shows no activity is how it's phrased, so I don't know if that means it was off or if it's just not moving. But between 8:02 and 9:06 p.m. And then according to Alex, when he got up from the nap, he went over to, well, actually, no, he didn't go over to the kennels according to his story. He just said he tried to call him at 9:06 or just before 9:04, actually, and then tried to call him at 9:06 and then left to his mother's. So let's see here. So here's just kind of an overview of the layout of the home is here, and where the homicide took place is by the kennel area here. And that's from the house to the kennels. It's about 3.5 football fields away. And there's 2 entrances. And so here we've kind of got their crime scene layout right here. And we have Paul just kind of laying, just inside and out. Well, I guess just outside the door frame here of the feed room. It says storage room. So storage room, feed room. And then we have Maggie laying face down as well, about 30 to 50 feet approximately between each other, just past the red overhang. This brown thing here is supposed to be the red overhang building, and she's supposed to be laying face down here. So let's see. Got up. So Paul was supposedly shot twice with a 12 gauge. Up close, and that's what today's show is going to be about, is how you kind of interpreted the crime scene, and from what your test is amazing recreation, and so we'll show that here in just a minute. But yeah, Paul was shot twice, and then it looks like Maggie was shot 5 times. They found 6 shell casings that belonged to an AR blackout, which they actually had both guns. They had 3 blackout AR rifles. They had 1 for each son, Buster and Paul. But I guess Paul lost the first one, and so they replaced it with the second one in 2018. But that gun is missing, along with possibly the 12 gauge that could have been used to shoot Paul. So let's see. else we got? So I think go ahead and start the video. What do you think?
Up to you, sir.
All right. Are you guys excited? Okay, let's do this. There's one more thing I wanted to say, but I'll get to it here in a minute. So we'll go ahead, and you've been working for seems like about a week recreating the scene. You were basically for Paul, and then we're going to work on Maggie here in the next week or so. But go ahead and get the video ready. Bear with me, guys, just a second. Let me quickly grab this here. Thank you so much, Maria. Hey, y'all. So happy to catch you live. Thank you for all the work you put into this for us. You are so welcome. And thank you so much, guys. All right, we'll go ahead and play the video, and we'll kind of play it and break it down while we watch it. Might need to turn that down just a little. So I'll pause it here in just a second. We'll explain the first shot, but we'll watch that in slow motion. So that first shot, that's kind of an odd angle to hold the shotgun, especially with you've got Alex, who is, from according to records, at least 6 foot, and you've got Paul standing at 5'7". So you got a 5-inch difference. So with holding that shotgun, is that a normal way to hold a shotgun?
No, and we don't know what the circumstances were prior to that shot. Was there some type of encounter? Was someone push, shove, or was he trying to keep the gun low profile, possibly where the victim wouldn't see it, then flipped it up from behind his back from his side and grabbed it in that position and fired? There's a lot of variables where we just don't know. And law enforcement would look at it. They have the final formulas and all the angles and measurements. We're having to work off some general details of some of the defects and the pass through the windows, the cage, and also the working with the height of the victim. And we can only work with what information we have. Law enforcement has the final ones, but for this to occur, as you will show here about where the defect and the shot in the window was, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so you were, because that's what you were kind of going off, is the defects behind with the window and the bird cage. That kind of gives you an angle of where the trajectory of the bullet or the shotgun was fired.
And using the blood pattern, the blood spatter and blood pattern that's on the floor, they tell you the location of where the injury, that this catastrophic, devastating injury occurred, because that's where the blood trail starts. And so, and there's some 90-degree blood spatter patterns there at this location. That's just over halfway into the room. And so I set up the scenario. I built this room to scale. The top of the plastic is 7'7", and then I just gridded out a window and estimating the width and everything, and came up with this now. And I believe you said Paul was 5'7", so I put the mannequin at 5'7", and everything laid out pretty good. And when I made the shot, it was well within the parameters and hit within just a couple, 3 inches of the location that I had marked.
Yeah, because you've got that window pane exactly, or pretty much now, as close as you can to recreating the scene is amazing. One thing I wanted to say that before I forgot to mention at the beginning, any donations come in today, me and Steve are splitting 50-50. So anything that you guys send is much appreciated. and me and Steve will split that because that's going to go to our funding for our upcoming projects for cold cases. So thank you, Chemistry Queen. Much love listening and laying down. All right. So thank you so much, Queen. So that's the first shot. The second shot is where it gets really interesting because of the angle. So we're going to go ahead and play that. Nope, don't remove it. Oh, one more thing to add on this. So here we're kind of showing the stippling, which you'll be able to see on the shirt.
Yeah, the stippling, the tattooing that happens on the skin at very close range, and that's pretty close. So we know probably somewhere around a foot to a foot and a half is how close the barrel was, because it matched pretty close.
So stippling is basically when the firearm is close to the victim and it causes this, what they call stippling effect, which is little tiny dots. And you've, yeah.
It's burnt, unburnt powders and materials from the shot and from the explosion and muzzle blast.
Interesting. Okay. Keep it going here. Now, this second shot is where it really gets fascinating. I was blown away when you talked about this. And we'll come back to those bullet holes as well, which you recreated.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So let me pause it just before we play this. So you think after he got shot once, something may have happened and might even surprised Alex, because of that wound. That first shot maybe didn't take him down, and he's maybe kind of not, he hasn't fallen over, but he's just kind of, he's still up. And
yes, that would shock me. And I'm shocked that he didn't go down. It's amazing. It's not like in the movies, of course, where people were blown through the walls and things, but still, the determination and the courage and the strength for this individual after taking a close quarter shot like that to be able to move 6 or 7 feet outside that door, and whatever the encounter was. And there's a common phenomenon out there that happens sometimes with law enforcement and others, and I had it happen to myself, that sometimes when you're in some type of engagement with individuals, you may take a misstep, and you'll trip and fall, especially if you're walking backwards, not paying attention. And that may have been the case in this. And that's one explanation of where this angle may have occurred. That was the fatal applied shot that as Alex or whoever the offender was, as he stepped back, may have fallen to the ground is one of the variables. And I went with the safest variable because this gun, the angle is probably correct as far as the angle pointing up through the arm, throat, and into the head and skull. That angle is correct. And there's a couple of 3 different ways you may have been able to fire that gun. But the safest way I could is, of course, from the ground. And that's what I did.
Okay, we'll go ahead and play that. Let me quickly get this. Tom, thank you so much, buddy. I hope everyone's having a great day. Thanks for all your all's hard work. I feel there is too much evidence for him to walk out a free man. Yeah, now they're going to include the testimonies from the financial situation that he was in. So yeah, it's not looking good for Alex right now. Okay, so we're going to play this. Thank you so much, Tom, buddy. Appreciate it, and thank you to everyone that's here. And this is where it gets really interesting. play that just a little bit more, and then we'll talk about it. That's crazy.
And it's pretty well, some of the crime scenes I've seen, it's pretty realistic. I used ballistic gelatin and synthetic blood. And that's how come I suited up, for the fact that I have some of the gelatin here that I got from that. And that's how come I was wearing that white Getty suit, as my members call it. Because some of the synthetic blood, the chemicals in it, of course, you don't want to be exposed to. Plus, being white, it does show a lot of the blood pattern, high velocity, as the muzzle blast, the kinetic energy destroys the body tissue, and the biological materials are shot out due to that kinetic energy, and creates this mist and this cloud, and it comes down on you. And that's what happened in this case.
Yeah. So the thing that that kind of points you in the direction that he could have maybe fallen back, or he could have been knelt down, is the angle that this shotgun was fired at. Because if you're 6'1", the last thing you want to do is fire a shotgun where you're holding it at such a, odd angle that it might just pop out of your, you might not be able to control the recoil, or
you wouldn't be able to control the recoil, or plus the muzzle blast. You would have significant damage, that if your face is within a foot or so of that muzzle blast, you're going to also incur some injuries. And so everything on the crime scene tells you a story. And when you look at, and they said that there was biological materials on the ceiling and everything, and part of his cranial vault and the brain was up on the ceiling, then the trajectory more than likely is that direction. So.
Right, because what was left of his, and trigger warning, I'm sorry, I guess I should have said that earlier. I mean, it's true crime. I mean, we talk about disturbing stuff. Now, everything is fake. Obviously, it's just, you're just shooting some jello, really, is what it comes down to. Ballistic jello, but and a mannequin. But yeah, the brain, part of what was left of his brain, sadly, was found by his feet. And that kind of tells you that it went up and came back down. Whereas and here, I'll go ahead and play this a little bit more so we can kind of see the two angles, and why this makes sense is because if it was fired straight ahead, his brain would have most likely been back by like the bird cage, or, back in the storage room, and not laying right next to his body, correct?
Oh, yes. Whatever direction, like I said, law enforcement has it, but I could only, working on the budget we have, and
Sure.
on variables, whatever law enforcement's final idea of how it occurred and what that angle was, they would go out and through historical data or recreate it and see if that theory fits. And if it fits, then that's exactly what happened. The angles doesn't, the energy that gun has, and the damage it would do to the human body, wherever the angle of that barrel is, it's going to push it in that direction. As we see with the, that if that is brain matter on the ceiling, then that's and that angle more than likely is correct, because they said that the injuries that was reported was through the shoulder, throat, and then into the skull. For that to occur, those have to be lined up.
Sure.
And so upright is more likely than not. And there was an interesting point when I was looking at the crime scene, and as the officers that arrived described it, they said that his hands were under his body.
Okay.
And it was almost like he was grasping his wound. And,
from the
and
first
that
shot.
would explain because as a sniper, one of the things that we're trained, there is a switch that the human brain has, that a sniper can take a certain shot, and if you separate the brain from the brain stem, it's like cutting off a switch. You won't. The
Sure.
body has no reflexes, so even if you have a hostage taker that's holding someone hostage, if you hit that switch, which is right there where the brain comes in contact with the brain stem,
Mhm.
and you separate those two, the switch is cut. There's no reflexes. He won't pull the trigger. He'll go straight down. And is that what happened with Paul? If he was holding his chest wound and the switch was cut, and most certainly if that reporting that his brain was at his feet, now of course there was separation of his brain and the brainstem.
Right. Sadly, yeah, it is tough to talk about, but it's fascinating to learn how this could have occurred, and it's something that I never even thought about until we talked about it. I mean, we've kind of talked about this for about a week now, and decided to kind of recreate it because it seems like they haven't really talked about that in the jury trial, and I think that's amazing that you are just you weren't at the actual crime scene, but hearing just the details, you could tell there's some angles that are. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the description of the injuries, and there's a cone on one of the pictures that was released that shows this cone that's almost probably 80 degrees, 85 degrees, not quite 90, that goes up across that doorway. And so using that data, I believe that's what law enforcement believes occurred. And so to get that gun in that position, Paul either has to be on his back, kneeling at the door, or he almost shot himself.
Okay, yeah, and we'll play it one more time, and we've got some plenty more to break down. Thank you, Rescue Mom, for becoming a member and supporting the channel. Marge, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Let me get caught up here. I kind of kicked up the chat a little bit, so hopefully that'll be a little slower for you guys. Okay, yeah, you're welcome, Molly. Let me know how that works. Okay, so go ahead and finish this, and then we'll replay it one more time for those that might have missed it the first time. So that's the ceiling. What you got, that's your ceiling, and what you have right there is interesting. That is part of the gelatin which you used to make the brain.
Yes.
And you found that actually kind of stuck in
it's still stuck in it. I have it in the refrigerator now. Not the one at home. Mrs. Steve would get upset if I had it in my own refrigerator, but out in one of the facilities, we have another refrigerator in one of the outbuildings, and I put that in there.
Esther says, it's fantastic, Steve. You're able to recreate the scene. So impressive. Your abilities are astonishing. Thank you for sharing this. Yes. And I wish I could get to everybody's comment. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so it makes sense. They said that there was brain matter that looked like it was on the ceiling. And for that makes sense with the angle that you were talking about. And I wouldn't say most likely, but it's a good possibility that Alex may have tripped over that threshold. And we'll kind of go back and look at that, because I thought that was kind of genius, because like you said, when you're walking back with a weapon, you tend to trip on stuff. And yeah.
Been there. I've fallen, in all the encounters. And when you're in close quarter battle, it's absolutely amazing. Everything's going so fast, and you lose your balance and you go down, and that doesn't help anything. It gets worse.
Yeah. And so now, you did infuse the brain with the synthetic blood, but I guess one of them leaked out. I guess you had 2 infusions, but one kind of leaked out. But you still ended up, obviously, with matter on you. This is your, what'd you call it? Your bunny Yeti suit. So this is your Yeti suit. I'm assuming you might have been even more covered if you actually infused.
Yeah. Now my whole, from my belt line all the way down to my foot looks like this. This is just one section, but there's material, everything from ballistic gelatin to the high velocity a mist that came down on that right leg and left leg, and only took a couple of pictures. I'll be doing luminol. I was going to do it tonight, but it may be tomorrow night. But and go up and do the scene and do the ceiling tiles and everything.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we've got, obviously you got Maggie's recreation we're going to do, and you're doing the luminol test to show, which is a blood test in the dark to see kind of material, biological material, I guess would be the proper way to say it. And so, yeah, you would think with that close range, and if it was Alex, he would have most likely been, I don't know, covered, or at least had some blood and human material on him from that shotgun blast, correct?
Oh, yes. No, yeah, there's no doubt, because like I said, regardless, there's a mist that goes 360 degrees, as you saw with the ballistic gelatin. If I had a wall behind, and I didn't put a wall for the fact I wanted people to see the whole room open on two sides, and I closed in two sides. But the ballistic gelatin that was in the back part of the mannequin went to the back. If there had been a wall there, it would have struck it, and then it would have absolutely fell at his feet. And
oh, right, sure.
Or that part of it was. But there's ballistic gelatin that went anywhere from 8. Now, there's smaller fragments of ballistic gelatin that probably carried out 12 or 15 feet. But the larger pieces went 7 to 8 feet.
That's crazy. That's weird. I just put that in there. Oh, there we go. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm just trying to put Steve's channel link right at the top there. There we go. Okay, cool. Just wanted to get that. So if you're new to my channel or new to Steve, his link to his channel is pinned at the top. So, and it's also in the description of this video. So we'll go ahead and play that one more time for those that might have came in late. Trigger warning. It's not really, I mean, I don't think it's gruesome. It was definitely, I mean, you're just shooting some Jello and a mannequin, and you just have some Jello and pieces of mannequin. Styrofoam, was it styrofoam?
Well, yes. When I did this, Manny.
Oh, yeah, there's Manny.
This is the one that got shot. You can see the gap on it.
Okay.
And I put him back together as best I could. But of course, that part came off, and the other part, which is pretty consistent with what would have occurred real world. Like I said, the massive trauma that would have occurred from the is absolutely devastating to the human body.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play this one more time. Trigger warning. If you don't want to watch it, look away for a second. This one's the first shot, which is really just, there's nothing. But the angle still, even this first shot is really weird. I mean, for him, how tall are you, Steve?
I used to be, when I was younger, about 6'2". I'm only probably around 6'1" now.
Oh, so you are. Oh, so I was going to say, you seem like you're, because when you said you had Paul set up, oops, I accidentally went way too far back. When you said you had him set up, the dummy set up basically at Paul's height, I noticed clearly you're at least 5'7" taller. So that's basically a pretty good reenactment of if it was Alex. And that just does not look like a comfortable position. The way you're holding the shotgun right there, that just does not look normal. And then the second one, clearly, I mean, he would even have to be lower. He'd have to be on his kneeling, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. For that angle. And like I said, watching and looking at some of the photographs and seeing where the material was in the room and the other defects, that angle is probably pretty close. Both angles.
So with the first shot, going through his chest and arm area and kind of upper out the back there, and the buckshot's coming through that window, because that's one thing they testified is the window behind him, which I've got on the right-hand side. Oh, and I'll just go back a little bit here.
Yeah, there's nothing pleasant about shooting that shotgun. They have different 12-gauge shotguns, extremely brutal and extremely powerful, and it's used by law enforcement for a purpose. and it does the job. And and also it's also a recreational weapon that people use for hunting. And when it's used against other humans, it will absolutely, uh, uh, unfortunately, create the situation that we have now.
Yeah. Graham Manini says, was there water around Paul? I thought I heard something about puddles of hose water. Yeah, it sounds like they were cleaning out the kennels when that video played, and maybe the water got left on while the shootings happened. Not sure, but yes, there was water. So we'll go ahead and. So this is after the first shot, just kind of showing the blue tape is kind of the trajectory of the shot, which is odd in itself. Let's skip forward here just a little bit. So he gets shot once, and we see there's some blood droplets actually below his feet here, and that's what you call. What'd you call those droplets?
Some of those drops, part of that blood pattern, is 90-degree droplets, which means that
That's right.
Blood was flowing from this massive injury from the gunshot wound, and it goes down, and once it starts, the droplets are formed, are certain, and droplets are very consistent. It's just like raindrops coming off a ceiling or any off your roof line. That once a drop of water or a drop of blood reaches a certain size, they fall, and they're very consistent in size, and they're 90-degree, and they form a very specific pattern, very circular. They may have a crowning effect, and those are 90-degree droplets. And from some of the images that were released, that part of the blood pattern is there. There's 90-degree droplets there, which means there was some type of blood flow that was creating those 90 degrees.
Right. So the person's still alive, most likely standing up or kind of maybe tipped over a little bit, trying to.
And then, and from there's a blood trail going all the way to the door.
Yep.
And you can see those droplets, and which I'll be doing some of that testing this week with some of my synthetic blood to recreate that scenario there.
Yep. So with the second shot, after he gets shot first, he may have been startled, Alex, excuse me. And there's what we call a threshold, which is in the door frame there. And I know thresholds quite well, or known as transitions.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they're in between doors to, different parts of the room. And some are just smooth and, no problems, but there's some that have, that kind of like half inch to inch, height that you can trip on. And usually, especially outdoors of the cement, they may not have spent on a lot of time with the transition, maybe had it up a little bit for whatever reason. But yeah, I've tripped on many transitions or thresholds. And so it's possible you think that he could have maybe tripped on that or even just stumbled, either way, and could have fallen back.
Absolutely.
Just one theory.
Or was pushed back or was struck prior to. And I mean, we just don't know what happened prior to the shot. So hopefully we will find out. And maybe law enforcement has someone that will come in and explain exactly because they have firsthand knowledge. And I'm waiting for that to become part of the trial.
Right. So trigger warning, like I said, there's not really much synthetic blood. It's just shooting some gelatin and some styrofoam, but it's going to go off right now. Let me grab this real quick. Thank you so much, YouTube Grandma, for the $10. She says, thanks again. Thank you. And let me get caught up here. Tom says, great job, Steve. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom, for the support. And okay, we'll go ahead and play this again. Oh my gosh. The play button is so close to the, I hate this. The play button's like so close to the line here. Okay, so here we go. Oh, I don't even know what happened there. There we go. Okay, let's see if that'll work now. There we go. So it's possible that after that first shot, he kind of maybe stumbles back. But no matter what, the angle is the most important thing. And
Yes.
obviously, I can't see someone 6'1" holding a shotgun that low. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible. But kneeling, it could be possible, I'm sure. Steve, you might need to come out and come back in, buddy. It looks like you're frozen. If you can hear me, Steve, back out and come back in. We got a frozen Steve. That's the first time that's happened. Usually has a good connection. There we go. Okay, let's get Steve back in here. He's the star of the show. Uh-oh. How's that? Let's see. Steve?
Am I still frozen?
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah, maybe try one more time, buddy. Come back out and come back in. Oh, it's getting better. Maybe not. Stay there.
Okay. We'll go on with the show without me.
Okay. Yeah, back out, come back in. Yeah. Try it one more time, buddy.
All right.
We'll get him back in here.
Okay,
have him frozen, Steve. So if you're just tuning in, we just played the video that Steve, he went out and did some tests this past weekend and last week. Been out there a couple of days. We do have some extra footage as well that we'll be presenting here in a little bit. But yeah, amazing recreation, and it shows that something. Let me get Steve back in here. Okay, that looks better. There you go. Much better. Okay, glad to have you back here. But yeah, it's just saying. Yeah, it's the first time that's happened. So we'll finish playing this. But you actually got this. So that piece of gelatin is what's pretty much left of the gelatin brain.
Yes, and I'll do show and tell to show you what size it is.
Okay, yeah, give me a second. I'll put us up a big screen so we can see you better. So give me 1 second, and I'll. All right, let me get rid of that. Okay. All right, Steve's got a little show and tell for us. Yeah, glitches in the Matrix. Hey, Gene. Good evening, Mob Crew. Great to see everyone tonight. Thank you, Gene. Good to see you.
So the things we're talking about are less than your hand size here. So.
Okay, so that's what's left of the gelatin, correct?
Yes, that you showed the picture back behind. That was I recovered at 7 o'clock, or yes, around 7 o'clock. That's 8 feet behind where the shot was taken. This chunk flew back, and there was another chunk slightly smaller, and then the chunk of ballistic gelatin that went to the front that you show on that when you do slow motion. This is that one. I've got, like I said, it's both of them about the size of a little bit smaller than your hand, and yeah, that's what ballistic gelatin, and it replicates. 10% ballistic gelatin is used for the fact that it replicates muscle and the human characteristics of body is 10% ballistic gelatin, and it takes a while to make it.
Oh, I saw you had a little show and tell with me on that. Yeah, it's amazing how you put that together with some cowboy hats and to make the mold to make it the round shape. Yeah, so he has it in I don't know if I don't have those right now. Dang, I should have took one of those. That was kind of cool to see how you made the gelatin brain. That was pretty cool. Um, so get this video up here because I didn't have you on here to talk about their phone records. Let's see if I got it right. Let's see. Yeah, this is the one. I had it up here. So I kind of went over this last live, and I'll just touch on this just a little bit, and then there's a few more things we'll go over that you did here in the experiment. But so with Maggie, she has her last read message at 8:48 and 39, or excuse me. All right, let me start with Paul. Paul had read his last message on his phone at 8:48 and 39 seconds, and then Maggie read her last message about 30 seconds later. It was about a 30-second difference. So that means the homicide may have happened between 8:49 and 8:53. Does that seem about right for, you got two victims about 30 to 50 feet apart, two shotgun shots for Paul, and then 6 AR shots, so 8 shots total. Does that sound about right?
Well, the number of shots that's different between the two victims is something that you have to analyze also. You have 2 that was to Paul, of course, and then you have a number of shots that's to Maggie that tells a story of, and some of the injuries that occurred, that it's not that both of them were shot simultaneously, that there had to be movement because there is movement. Is she fleeing? Is there someone else involved? For the fact that they're not evenly, that if you have someone totally uncontrolled, you do not normally have this spread of injuries from any type of gun. They're usually very close and well-controlled pairs or numbers of shots. And some of those shots were made over a distance. And that's to be told also. It's not someone that you have kneeling 3 feet in front of you. You have someone that you're shooting 15, 20, 30 feet away. And that tells a story of that of what would possibly was going on. There may have been some movement, fleeing or otherwise. But once she went down, then of course there's one shot that has stippling, which is indicative that it is extremely close quarters and made for the purpose of almost like an execution.
Interesting. And so this is a shotgun. Someone asked a question. I'll get to it here in just a second. Let me get caught up on these here. D. Sam Lamb, thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. And I think I saw one more. Get caught up on these. Tom says, what was the ammo used in the buckshot?
I think there was one round buckshot. The first one to the chest, from my understanding, was buckshot. The second shot outside the door with a shotgun was, I believe, number 4. A steel shot for duck hunting. And
right.
And I shot buckshot into the chest was the first one, and then outside the door I did shoot number 4 shot.
Interesting. Now, for those that are like me that don't really know much about shotgun shells and what's in them, so there's different kind of pellets for each kind of like duck shot, turkey shot, or whatever.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, some of your small game that's fragile, some of your smaller birds like dove, you may use a pellet size that's right the reverse. It like a number 9 or number 8 is a very fine shot. It's very small, about the size of the head of a needle. And then you get into the lower numbers are a bigger size shot, like 4 or 3, 2 shot, that gets up there, the size of bobby pins, the heads on them. And Then you get to buckshot, which can get all the way up into the 30 calibers and 38 caliber, 39 caliber on triple aught. But all of that law enforcement would be able to identify that from recovered shot, either from the victims or from the trajectory, and it strikes a wall or a piece of wood and embeds itself.
Let me ask you. Let me first say this before I ask you this. So one of the things that Alex even admitted is that Paul, his son. So it sounds like his son had 3 trucks, and at least 2 to 3 of them were, on the property. And we know that one was found broken down on Interstate 67, but that might have been borrowed or something like that. I'm still looking into that. But according to his friends and Alex, his father, he'd usually keep his guns with him, and on either in his truck or on his person. So, because some people think, why 2 guns? And it would make sense because, that maybe he wants to make it look like 2 people, and there's just happened to be 2 guns laying there. Maybe he had the shotgun and Paul had his blackout near him. His friends always, like I said, his friends did say that he likes to carry his weapons around him. And, but on the other side of that, flip side, do you see anything in this crime scene would say that there's 2 people involved or another person besides Alec involved?
If they weren't controlling the other person, and something occurred for the dispersion of the shots on the other person. Like I said, they're not controlled and centralized that you normally would see of a person that is either restrained, or you normally, when you take control of an individual, you either put them on their knees or you make them lie down on the ground. We see it time and time again throughout homicides, that when you have absolutely control of someone, you put them on the ground. That doesn't seem to be the case due to some of the, like I said, the shots that occurred to Maggie are from several different angles, which means there was movement.
Makes sense. I thought you froze there for a minute. I keep looking at you when you freeze for a second. I get worried. No, it looks good. Okay, now it makes sense. Because with 2 people, they would get him. That totally makes sense. Here, I'm just kind of showing some of the stuff behind the scenes that I didn't have in the original video here, and here you're kind of checking yourself.
Yeah, there's blood spatter, high velocity blood spatter. High velocity blood spatter is extremely small. And for that to be on a person, you have to be extremely close. You're not going to be 20, 30 feet away. You're going to be within 3 or 4 feet for that high velocity blood spatter to be on you. Or you're going to be like I was, lying below in that cloud of synthetic blood that occurred. And I only used, very little, but still it created the exact effect that you would see with such a catastrophic gunshot.
Interesting. Let's see here. Una, thank you so much. Thank you both. Learning so much. Thank you so much for the $10 super sticker. Like I said, Steve had mentioned this to me, I think at least a week ago. And I was just in shock. I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense after, hearing the testimony of the investigators talking about the crime scene and the defects with the window, but more importantly, where, and not to get too graphic, but where the brain was located, and them talking about some material on the ceiling would indicate that the angle of the shot was at a pretty extreme angle. And for someone to hold a shotgun at that angle is probably not normal, correct?
No, like I said, and no, that would not be the chosen of a way of unless I was trying to bring somebody into a false sense of security, just walking into a room, having it down by your side. If you're part of a hunting group, people carry guns in a lot of different ways, and you'll see that, and you never suspect that a family member is going to do this. And from the video of the people that's identified there, they're having an average, normal family interaction, talking as if there's nothing going on. And then within 5 to 10 minutes, we have 2 victims.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was hearing. I can't remember if he'd let her like if it hit his truck and his uncle borrowed it, or if that was the uncle's truck. I kind of heard conflicting. So thank you, Debbie, because yeah, that's what I was just gonna talk about with that truck. Is it may be totally unrelated. Let's see if you got a couple of questions. Let's see. Gosh, I can't believe almost an hour's gone by. If you got some questions, we'll try to get to a few for you guys. So if you have one, go ahead and post it, and we'll try to knock some out here. Let me see if I can find some here. Fotina says Maggie was 30 yards away from Paul, not 30 feet. 30 could have been. We'll have to look at that. But no way. No, Karma says no way. 30. Yeah, we'll look into that. According to the diagram, it looks like 30 to 50 feet, but you can't because they didn't do it to scale on their diagram, so it's kind of tough to know.
Yeah. And that aggravates the devil out of me. They didn't.
Yeah. Right. So I'm just looking for some. Okay. Coco says, could shooter have been in a kneeling position for first shot, then rolled to back for second shot?
Anywhere along that angle, that gun could have been all the way that he could have possibly already have been on the ground, but leaning forward, because we have to have that the stippling, the tattooing. For that to occur, you have to have that gun at a certain location and a certain distance. And that would have to be almost a standing shot. And that's how come I went with that first one.
Sure.
But it could have been done anywhere along that angle, even kneeling if he's close enough. And if you could kneel and hold the gun to the shoulder, he could have done that as long as it's on that same angle. And I just wasn't able to do enough ballistic gelatin to play out all the scenarios.
Right.
I just picked one and put it on that angle to show and demonstrate that a person that received that injury, that the pass through, the projectile will travel through and struck in a similar location.
I have a question. Like I said, I'm going to try to get to a few of your guys's here in a minute. Could it be possible after the first shot, maybe he just had one shell in there, and maybe he had some shells in his hand or a shell in his hand, and maybe after that first shot, maybe fumbled to reload and drop the shell casing, causing him to kneel down on the ground, pick it up, put it in. That caused Paul to, or maybe even the first shot, maybe he came in. Well, no, I guess he would come in with it loaded, so that wouldn't make. But with the second shot, possible that he maybe just had one shot and thought, okay, this will take him down, and it didn't, and so.
Yeah, anything can happen, especially under a stressful situation. You can do a short stroke of the shotgun, create a jam, and then have to clear it. That could have happened, or you can have. That's one thing that firearms will do. They always fail to operate in the most needed time.
Oh, right.
And if you are doing something that you're not accustomed to, a lot of things can happen. And this, of course, is not something that any individual does on a routine. So he would not have been calm and collected during this process.
Sure. Tom says, have they said who was unalived first? No, I don't think they did. I mean, they bring up Paul. I mean, when they're talking the story, it seems like they do bring up Paul first in the timeline, but they don't say exactly. They don't say who. But in my opinion, I think Paul. What do you think?
Well, if you look at that, okay, if Paul's inside the feed room and he was going to be number 2, that the time it would have took, because we have the shell casings and the position of Maggie. The shell casing from that firearm is some distance away from her, and the number of shots, that if the shots were going on and happening, Paul would not have stayed in that room. Because not only do we have that those shots are a distance from where she's found, you still have to walk over there and do that final shot that had the stippling, the tattooing to her skull and her head, and that takes time. And so, would Paul have stayed in the room during the 6 shots and the time it would have took to walk over there, and then the time it would have took from him leaving Maggie to get to the dog room or the feed room? And so, would he have come out and engaged or fought, and would there have been a shot outside? And with that individual that's shooting a high capacity, if Maggie is first and this individual has a high capacity magazine, he would simply, if Paul was second, would have, and Paul was coming towards him, he would have just simply shot him right then. And
I would, yeah.
And so I think that Paul was not shot with the high capacity magazine, and that Paul was first due to the 2 shots and Maggie was second. That's just my speculation.
Yeah, so it's between 30 and 50 feet, give or take. I'd say 40 feet. It's tough because the building's like right here, but you can't really see it. So I would say 30 to 50 feet between the bodies. I think some people are confused on what she was asking, but yeah, 30 to 50 feet approximately between Paul and Maggie, because Maggie was found just on the other side of this red overhang here. And so, yeah, just approximate there. Zap says, where did they tested the shirt? Where did they tested the shirt at the shoulder for traces when he held the gun at such an odd angle? Where did they probably didn't test? Did they know this? Great update, thanks.
Like I said, I was just recreating the location of where the blood trail started, putting a mannequin at 5'7" at that location, creating a chest wound that would create those defects in the window and along that angle. And that is the position of the firearm for that to occur. Now, law enforcement may have other details that are not quite the same, but it would, regardless of where the defects are at and the injuries, they would be able to line it up and present that to the court.
Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. Maybe he was trying to disguise his height. That is not a bad theory at all, actually. Kind of thinking about it. Especially, I mean, I'd see if like the one of the shots was like straight and then the other one was at an angle, but both at such a weird angle. And then to use 2 guns. I mean, was he thinking that far ahead? But that's not a bad idea. No, not a bad theory at all. Okay, I'm gonna try to get some questions here. Is this why the witness said there was gun residue found on the groin of the pants? I don't recall that, but that would, I guess, at an angle. Could you get yeah, because gun residue is going to go.
It forms a cloud.
Yeah,
and it can be anywhere.
That would make sense.
It forms a cloud, and plus, on a recently fired firearm, if you handle it or you put it in your lap, there's a lot of ways that you can get transfer of a gunshot residue, especially for hunters and law enforcement and people that handle guns daily. Like I said, I have gunshot residue on me probably 90% of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense to have it so far low. Let's see. Okay, let me get a couple more. Joan says, "Do you think it was planned or a fit of rage that he allegedly shot them?"
Well, to turn off your phone means that there's some type of planning.
Ooh, that's true.
I mean, you wouldn't know. I mean, you don't normally turn off your phone at that time of day, and then be on talking when your story says that you're at the house napping, but you're discovered to be in another location.
Yeah. Let's see. I just saw it here. Yes, Alex was smart using two guns to trick cops. Allegedly, we got to say. He's a huge trickster, as we know, which is true. And he's no dummy, that's for sure. See, I saw a question and I can't. Comment meant that was gunshot residue test wasn't taken on T-shirt today. Oh, that's right. Yeah. I might have missed that last little bit of the court. I think I missed the last hour because I was trying to put that video together, finishing it. But
Ryan Simmons says, True Crime Web, let me know if I can assist with a gelatin mold or two for further experiments. Sure, Ryan. My email is steve@truecrimeweb.com.
Oh.
Steve@truecrimeweb.com. Send me an email and we'll talk about that. Appreciate the offer.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, who else? Well, I mean, they did have a lot of hate with Paul, Paul and him getting a slap on the wrist with the case with the boat accident or boat incident, however you want to say it, which cost the life of, sadly, Mallory Beach. And they were going to have a lawsuit. So there's a lot of things that were kind of closing in on Alex and the family. Let's see. But yeah, from what I seen today in courts, they had the housekeeper on and they were talking about the raincoat / tarp, which apparently had gun residue on it, but she had encountered it with it crumpled up. I don't think she ever said if it had anything in it, but apparently it had gun residue. So it could have been that he brought those two guns over that night to his mother's home and then disposed of them afterwards. We get a couple more questions in here. Wouldn't someone like Alex Murdaugh have gunshot residue 90% of the time? He owned and shot rounds daily. Was this his house, their main residence? Yeah, it was for his. I guess his wife had another beach house that she'd like to spend more time at. But yeah, I think this is his main residence, I think. But yes, that's true, yeah. Right, Steve?
Absolutely true. And also his vehicles. And the vehicles, GSR would being operated by his family. And how much shooting did his family do? How much of that gunshot residue is transferred from even family members operating the vehicles? And so the gunshot residue is a non-issue in this case. You're at a hunting camp. I don't see anything that the gunshot residue is going to say one way or the other.
Yeah. Molly says, what was Paul going to be charged with the upcoming trial for the boat accident? I don't know if there was a trial. It's just there was going to be a $50 million lawsuit.
It's a civil case, I think,
yeah.
at this point.
Yeah.
Because I think the criminal part of it was over. I
believe. Yeah, he got a slap on the wrist compared to, a DUI. I mean, he should have probably got some kind of manslaughter charge. But yeah. He had the same lawyer that's representing his father right now. Hey, Perry, good to see you. Did the witness say he was wearing different shoes than those he was wearing when law enforcement arrived at the scene? Oh, my gosh. I never even thought about looking at the shoes. That is genius.
I have my I put my white booties on, which you can't see in here, and I'll be spraying them and testing them with luminol. Because if he walked through the crime scene, and so I'll see what transfer from the that I would have gathered on the bottom of those shoes. So that'll be part of the future testing.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant! I didn't even think about the shoes. Okay, I've got the side by side, but I might have to play the video because I don't think this one shows his shoes in this one. Here, you guys can't see what I'm So here's the side by. Oh, I gotta get rid of the comment. That's actually a great. So he's got these brown shoes before. Let's see, I don't know if we'd be able to see his shoes in that video or not. I'm sure I can find some. Let me. I can see part of his left shoe already, and it looks white. So, yeah, just comparing shoes. I've never even thought about comparing the shoes. I'm so caught up on his clothes. So I can see right now at the very left right here. Can you see that? Let me take a screenshot of it. That looks like a back of a tennis shoe because it looks like what he's wearing before is more of a. All right, let me come on, get rid of that. Okay, bear with me, guys, just a second. Where'd that screenshot go? I know it's in here. It's got to be in one of these.
Yeah, I think the testimony today was some type of cloth shoes they were discussing during the caretaker of the mother. They were talking something that was other than any type of leather.
Yes, later he is. Yeah, he's wearing. I've got this screenshot. I don't know where it went, but you're right. It is. I can tell it's a tennis shoe. That's. I never even thought about comparing the shoes. God, where did it go? Oh, that makes me mad. All right, I'm gonna have to take it one more time. Make sure. Did it here? Let's see. Oh yeah, it's gone. All right, bear with me for a second. Yeah, if you see a question on there, go ahead, Steve, while I snag this video. Oh, I guess because I'm not looking.
Let's see. I go over here and backtrack a minute. I wasn't paying attention.
Oh, I found it. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
Sorry, Steve. Yeah, if you
No,
see
go
one,
ahead.
go. Okay. All right. So here. Oh yeah, that's white. So yeah, here's his shoe. That's definitely white. And here is definitely some loafers, brown loafers. And so if we look at the loafers before, and we can see the white of the back. That's clearly a white tennis shoe right there. Great, Perry. Great catch. Great catch. So he changed his whole outfit. So what do you make of that, Steve? I mean, it doesn't probably don't surprise you.
Well, no, I mean, if he was the one that was, and he's an attorney, he knows what's coming, and he would know that there's no part of him that wouldn't be looked at, and especially if he cleaned up and walked through the waters that would have been transferring, because some of the presumptive blood tests, they work in parts of thousands. I think alumni is 1 in 30,000 parts or something like that, or 1 in 50,000 parts. And so is extremely reactive to blood. And so he would know that you couldn't, you're not able to wash that away.
Huckster says Paul was charged with 3 felonies. Yeah. And then he had the civil case pending at the time. Yep. That's correct. Thank you so much, Huckster, for the support. You can see, yeah, I will, after the show, I'm going to definitely look at that and get some screenshots. That's a great catch on Perry's part. Oh, his shoes came out in evidence today? Yeah, I missed the last hour and a half because I had to get the show ready, so I'll have to check that out. Complete change of clothes, wearing shorts. Yep, complete change. And then to wrap up, we'll look at one last thing here. I'll see if I can get 1 or 2 questions in. Let's see what Sirius says. Theory: if Paul and Alex planned the first shot to delay legal problems, but the injury was worse than planned, and Alex got scared and tripped and fall. Oh, so he was trying to. It's kind of like the Scream, where they try to injure each other to make it look like they're not. So he's saying, in theory, if Paul and Alex planned the first shot to delay legal problems, but the injury was worse than Alex. But I don't know. Would you use a shotgun for something like that?
No, you'd use some type of knife.
Yeah, which is
Or
like the
something.
Scream deal.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about experienced hunters. These
Yeah.
people, they shoot and they're hunters, and they know what these firearms are capable of.
But you never know, serious. I mean, it's not totally a bad theory.
Oh no, I mean,
Yeah.
he also hired a
Who knows?
hitman that
Yeah.
failed
Oh,
to-
yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah.
completely failed or whatever. Yeah. So honestly, that wouldn't surprise me at all either.
No,
Really, that's why I was 60-40 coming into this trial, is just with how crazy everything is surrounding this family.
but you know, everybody, you have to debate those issues, and when people bring up whatever their stance is, those are things that have to be discussed because the true answer is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, Sweet Dream says he was home taking a nap. Could he say that's the reason for his clothes change? Sure. Yeah, clearly he was at the house at one point, and according to his alibi, he was at the house between 8 and 9:06, and the shootings happened at approximately 8:49 to 8:54, because their phones would lock up forever pretty much at 8:55. And that's the one thing I wanted to finish on is the phones, and in more specifically Maggie's phone, where basically at 8:53 to 8:55, there's 59 steps recorded, but at 8:54, right in between that 8:53 and 8:55, the camera starts on for 1 second, and that's the phone trying to recognize, because someone's face is obviously near the camera. And 59 steps, I was about 147 steps, or 147 feet, excuse me. And so I think that could have been, in my opinion, most likely Alex grabbing the phone, walking with it, because her phone would be found a quarter of the mile down the road. And maybe Alex was erasing some things on it. So, final thoughts, Steve. Anything that we missed?
No, this one I've still got a lot of processing to do and other details and looking at that, and I'm interested in some of the other transfer of such as the shoes, and like I said, working with the synthetic and the recreations doesn't answer all of them of the questions, but it does give you certain leads.
Okay, yellow. Okay. All right. Yeah, so Steve is going to be doing some more tests, and then eventually we'll get on to Maggie's recreation. Is that what you're planning? I mean, after your luminol and some of these other ones?
Yes, I'll sometime this week. I've got the luminol, and I was going to do it tonight, and I don't know. I've got to see Mrs. Steve with her arm injury. See if she can. If there's anything I need to do for her prior to.
Okay. Pat says, we think Alex has wet hair in the cop car. Must have showered and didn't dry his hair. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it'd take me a minute to get the video, but yeah, I'll have to take a look at that. But interesting. I know it's kind of humid, but I don't think that would make I'm sure he was sweating a little bit just from the humidity. It was kind of hot. You can tell the officers sitting next to him, they're all kind of enduring the humidity or whatnot. So when was he at his mother's house? So now, according to him, well, I guess it does line up to his alibi as far as when he goes to his mom's. He goes to his mom's at 9:06. He's when he is recorded getting into his SUV. And then I think it's like a 15-minute drive, give or take 15 minutes, to get to his mother's home in Alameda. How long he was there, I'm not sure. Well, actually, he would have came back.
The testimony was like 20 minutes or so, but then the caretaker said that Alex had a conversation with her and was trying to extend it out to 40 minutes or something like that.
Okay, so Alex calls 911 at 10:06. So he probably went to his mother's at 9:06, got to his mother's at like 9:20, and then was probably there for 30 minutes, give or take, and then drove back and was there maybe by 10, and then calls 911 at 10:06. Something like that, somewhere in there. Yeah, that's something I'll have to kind of detail a little bit more on the timeline, is his movements right after. Okay, I think I got everybody. It seems impossible that he shot two people with two guns. Wouldn't the second victim be alerted? So maybe.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
mean, yeah.
And that's how come I think that Paul would, from looking at and from my understanding and having worked cases, that the biggest threat will have been Paul. And after he's taken out, then Maggie, with her maternal instincts, and may have not chose to run because there's nothing more fearsome than a mother's desire to protect, and possibly that she stayed for that exact reason of trying to help Paul.
Right. Oh, there it is. I was trying to look for it. Hey guys, we'll have to rewind. Happy birthday to me. Oh, happy birthday, Megs. And thank you so much for your support. That is so sweet. Oh yeah, that's true. The cop, yeah, was hours after he had returned home. Unless he took a shower at his mother's home. He could have took a shower at his mother's house. And actually, that wouldn't surprise me at all either. Because it sounds like he may have brought the guns over and some evidence and then disposed of it, but that's just speculation. So I think we're going to go ahead and end it there.
Right.
And
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's been an honor, and I look forward to getting with you, and you can just throw me out back.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Steve, for coming on, buddy. You're amazing. Amazing work, buddy. And we'll talk to you here in just a minute, bub.
All right. Thank you.
Uh-huh. All right, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you guys all so much for the donations. Me and Steve are just going to split it up because that's going to go to our future funds for, our cold cases that we'll be working coming spring and summertime. And I'm going to have a short video that I'm uploading as soon as this video ends, which is showing the video that I showed you guys. It's just kind of a shortened version for those that may want to see the reenactment again. So that will be uploaded right after this video ends. And I just want to say thank you to all the mods for the hard work. I hope I didn't miss anybody's donation. My apologies if I did. And thank you to all the members for your support. If you could, please hit that like button. And we'll probably be live Wednesday. So we usually try to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then hopefully this Sunday Sunday is going to be the football game. So I doubt I'll probably be going live Sunday. So thank you guys so much again. I love you guys. I'm going to go ahead and play the outro, and we will see you guys Wednesday.